Hello, and welcome to the second episode of the Bravemark Designer Spotlight, a series where we sit down with talented brand designers to have a casual conversation about their work experiences and the inspiration behind what they do. Our guest today is Youri van den Hurk from the Netherlands, a brand designer who focuses on blending strategy and creativity to build bold, memorable brands. Youri, it's good to see you again. I know you've been traveling a lot this year. How's that been going?
Good, man. Yeah, you're right. I have been traveling a lot. I've been in South America, Central America, Mexico mostly for half a year. Had a little bit of a vacation in Aruba, and then visited family back home in the Netherlands. And my girlfriend's from Denmark, so we went to Denmark for a bit as well. So we've been on the road for like 8 months, and now we're back in Europe. So it's nice to be back.
Yeah. No, I've followed you a little bit there with some images I've seen. So, but you've been working as well while you've been traveling, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say we because it's me and my partner, we both follow the same kind of way of work lifestyle, you can call it. So what we do mostly is we're based in Portugal, and that's where we don't really work. That's where we try to chill. And then while traveling the world, we do that as digital nomads. So that's when we do work. So often we're in Portugal for like half a year, try to relax our nervous systems mostly. And then we travel for half a year to a place like Mexico, but we've also been to places in Asia, Africa, wherever we want to explore. And that's we do while combining it with work and just explore. And well, that's sometimes a bit heavier on the nervous system. So then the half a year in Portugal after is to relax. And yeah, it's a nice balance that way.
I mean, it sounds great, right? I think a lot of people will want to do this. I mean, me myself, I've always thought about traveling and working. For some sake, it's like I can't see myself doing it because when I travel, it's like not concentrated at all. But I think I should try to do it at some point because it is a good way to, see more things and, always keep working, right? Like I'm working constantly. I hardly ever take a time off. So
No,
yeah,
I feel you. And I would actually say it's the same for me. Like I work at least out of the time that I'm not in Portugal. I work pretty much every day, but I'd rather do it in a place that is not familiar to me, where I also get inspired by new things, new cultures, but also brand identities and design that I see all around the world, instead of just
right.
being in the same place all the time. I kind of need that new energy, I'm going to call it.
Yeah. No, I totally see it. Like when you're traveling, you see so many different things like culture, colors, like they do things different way, right? So to get inspiration,
Exactly.
that must be like
Exactly.
a really good way to get it, right?
Yeah, it gives you new angles to look at things.
Yeah. Cool, man. Look, before we get into the questions and stuff, if you can give us a little short background on, about yourself and like what you're doing right now. So the audience hears that as well.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm Youri van den Hurk. Very good pronunciation, Johan. I'm a brand designer, strategic brand designer from the Netherlands. I was born and raised in Eindhoven, but for the last, I'm going to say, roughly 10 years that I've had my business, I've been doing it pretty much remotely. So like you just said, I travel and I work, and that's what I do. That's what I've been doing over the last 10 years. The first, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years were mostly as a graphic designer, kind of just taking stuff where it came in. And over the last 5 years or so, I've been specializing in brand design purely. And I help, scale ups with the full scope of brand creation. So all the way from the strategy to the implementation in the end. So strategy, then the brand identity, the visual aspect, and then the implementation.
Awesome, man. Sorry about the pronunciation. I had no idea it was that
No, it
complicated,
was
but
good.
I'll,
Like you nailed it.
I'll try to learn it.
No, it was good, man. It was good.
All right. Okay. All right. So, like, I have a few questions prepared. We start off with your origin stories. Like, could you tell us a little bit how you got into design or brand identity design? What was it that got into you there?
Yeah, sure thing. So I just gave you a little bit of an intro to that already. So I was born and raised in Eindhoven, a big design city. When I was younger, I first did like graphic design school back then. I did that for 4 years straight out of, well, that was my college basically. I had half a year in Leeds as well in England as like my, what's it called, a minor, I think. Then when I finished that, I did art school because I tried a study in between doing something else, switching it up. It was, I think, event management, but very fast I learned that that was not for me. That was way too much like theory. And I just wanted to do shit. I wanted to do things. I wanted to create things. So that wasn't for me. Did art school for 4 years. That was maybe a little bit too vague for me sometimes, but it did open up, you know, a lot of new perspectives for me. They did things very differently, and that did help. And then after those 4 years in art school, I decided like, hey, I like design, I like art, but I want to be able to do it on a commercial level. So it can't be too vague for me. And that's really when it clicked. And I kind of like narrowed it down to branding. Basically registered my company straight away in the last year of art school. And ever since, it's just been, you know, going from there. And like I said in the beginning, it was just everything that came in. It could literally be the neighbor that needed the logo. Easy stuff. I was mainly just focused on having a lot of fun, traveling a lot. I was backpacking the world. I worked in Australia for a year. I wasn't really too focused or too worried about any of that. And then in the last 5 years, I've been taking stuff more seriously. And I started to purely focus on brand design. And that's really when things started to take off as well.
I mean, it seems like you had a very clear path, like even from the very early start, right? Which is, I mean, that's really good. I think that gives you an advantage as well, right? Like the younger you start with these things and you set your career, it's like it's a pretty good advantage.
Yeah, it's
Would you say also? Sorry,
no, it's funny
go on,
that
go
you
on.
say that because I remember that in school, and I'm talking even before college, like when I was young, we had these assignments where they would ask you about your career path. There was like, you had these classes, they were probably called economy or something, and they would ask you about your career path every year. And my answer to that was always, I want to be able to combine traveling and working. So I always had a clear vision of wanting to do something online, you know, like digital. As soon as I then started to do design, like it just like formed and formed more, just like organically into what I do now. Like often people come to me and they're like, oh, I wish I could work online. I wish I could be a digital nomad. And I've always controlled that, you know, I've always wanted that. And I've always knew I wanted to do something creative. So I've literally been like designing this lifestyle for like, I don't know, 15 to 20 years, you know? So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Maybe I'm gonna have to ask you some questions
Yeah,
on how
go
to
for
get
it.
that started.
Yeah, but that's what everyone always wonders, right? Like, how do you do it? How can you be a digital nomad? I want to be a digital nomad, but it's hard with my
Yeah,
job.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, maybe it is, but maybe it isn't. Like, I've always had it in the back of my head. I've always wanted to do it, whatever it was, you know? I just wanted to be something
Mm.
creative and I wanted to be able to do it online. So, yeah, if you have those two things, then it's possible.
It's part of your personal brand.
Exactly, it is. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go on to the next question. So, what was your like first paid design job?
Yeah. So that's
Can you
because
remember?
I just gave you a little bit of a insight into my career, I guess. So the first one was probably, yeah, like I said, a logo for a neighbor or something like super small, like maybe a beauty salon from a friend of a friend, or I'm gonna say something like that. I remember I had a client once that was,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it was a beauty salon in Amsterdam, which was a friend of a friend, and it paid fuck all, like literally maybe a few €100. It was a horrible client as well, because client with low budgets are always the worst clients. You know, they have a lot of things to say, a lot of back and forth. So yeah, not great, but it got things started. And then I remember I was on a platform for a while as well, which was a Dutch platform, which was like logo design.nl or something like that. And it was just like super low budget, Upwork style, you know, job posts where I would just like scout and do those. So yeah, the first one was probably in the first year that signed in my company, but it wasn't great. No.
Good, great story. I think, you know, like myself, I got started with doing a lot of work for local companies, smaller companies. I did a lot of like flyers back in the day for like nightclubs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's always, I think anything is valid as long as you start like creating stuff and learning
Yeah,
tools
just
and stuff, you know. So,
exactly, Johan. That's exactly it. Just create shit, you know? Like I've had a phase as well where when I was in Leeds, like I just mentioned, where I just did like flyers for a local club. I think it was Tiger in Manchester. Most British people will know the place. And I just did like the
mhm,
flyers for the weekly parties there. And it was super boring work. It was repetitive. It was just like desktop publishing, you
yeah.
know? But it gave me the hours and, you know, you get better and better. And then gradually you can move to stuff that you like doing more, which now in my case is like strategy and brand design. Yeah.
Okay. So, and would you say there was like a defining moment when, you know, everything got a little bit more serious, or like you saw that, you know, this is, you're gonna like really focus on this, or like maybe the point when you started your business, right, or something? Like,
Yeah, that's a great question.
what was that trigger that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like the signing in my company, that was literally just from that memory in the back of my head. Like I want to work remotely. I want to combine traveling and working. So I needed, you know, a registered company. So that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really think much of that. That wasn't because I had a lot of opportunities coming in or something. I just registered. You just have to start, you know. I think that's a
Yeah.
good tip for most people out there as well. Just register, you know, then at least when something comes in, you can do it. But the defining moment for me when it really like kicked off for just branding, brand identities, is when I did a project for a cafe in Portugal, which was called Terra. And that project did very well, both for the client, but also on social media. It got rewarded on Behance twice now. It's been shared and featured by many, many platforms. Yeah, very positive feedback on that one. Also, it was very much me. It was very bold typography, illustrations, colors, you know, it was right up my alley. And that really like boosted my career in a way that more clients that like that style came in. And from there, I've just been really able to do exactly that. So that was probably like 3 years ago. And like I said, 5 years ago is roughly when I started to do more brand identity. So it still took me a good 2 years to like find my ways, find my style,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. I already had nice projects coming in. But 3 years ago after Terra, that's when it really, you know, really lifted off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Interesting to hear that. It makes me think that, you know, with social media and designers sharing, you know, their work and stuff, and when it gets like a good reaction, right, that can, you know, give you the energy to take you and you know, believe stronger in yourself and propel you to other things.
For sure. For sure. I was talking to an owner of a big design studio in Costa Rica the other day, which is a friend of mine I met many years ago. And he said the same thing to me. Like, if you want a certain project in a certain niche, for example, I'm really looking to do more brand identities for football clubs. He said, just do a passion
Mm-hmm.
project. It doesn't matter. Like, you're never too good for a passion project. If you want those type of clients and you don't have any work to show for, just make up a project and do that. You know, if that goes well on social media, even if it doesn't go well on social media, keep sharing it. Like, be repetitive. No one cares that you post the same thing every week, you know? Just wait until the right person sees it and then boom, there you go, you know? So if you need anything to start, just do a passion project, do a smaller job for a lower budget, but at least something you like doing within your style, you know? And then it will start moving from there.
Cool. Yeah. I. It's amazing to see, you know, how different paths, you know, take you and make you grow. And I mean, I've heard
Yeah,
similar stories from Carl, the last interview as well, and it was a bit similar as well. So it is interesting how that suddenly happens, right? But you got to like start and position yourself in the eyes of the, you know, the work that you want to do as well. So I think that's
for
really good.
sure. And I think no one should ever work for free. I really believe that. But if you do a passion project, which is for yourself in the exact style you like doing, I know that's not going to make you any money directly, but it will in the long run, you know? Never work for free, but if you do it
Yeah.
for yourself as a portfolio, as a case study item, yeah, do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good lesson. And I guess you also have good fun doing it, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, you have a great time and you can take as long as you want. I mean, I would still set yourself a deadline because otherwise it's just gonna, never become a case study, never be released. But you can take as long as you want. You can perfect it. You're the boss. You're both the client and the designer. It's great.
So, what would you say is the project you're most proud of? And I can share my screen here and we can look through your Behance or Instagram if you want.
Yeah, whatever
Let
is
me
easiest.
just.
I'm on everything, man. And that's also one of the lessons. I think one of the questions was, what's a good lesson for designers? And my lesson would be share your work fucking everywhere. I have Behance, I have LinkedIn, I have Instagram, I have a portfolio website, I have everything. Like my work is always posted like 8 times when it gets released. So that's the tip. But yeah, my favorite project is probably Terra because
Okay.
it's the it's like, look at the stats on that. That's pretty impressive. If you ask me, it got rewarded twice. And it's exactly what I just explained. It's exactly that like trademark YVDH style with the bold typography and the bright colors. Not too many colors either. I love doing just one color or maybe duotone, nothing too crazy. Yeah, and this really went off. And yeah, the next project I would pick is probably Convo. And Convo came in because they really liked this project, but they're a SaaS company. Like they have nothing to do with cafe branding, which can often be very hip. But these guys were SaaS, so
Hmm.
that's often way more traditional. But yeah, we kind of like combined that style, that Terra style, with like what they did, which is they're an AI tool for their SaaS AI tool. So yeah, that mix up was
Yeah.
amazing. It's super, it's not authentic SaaS. It doesn't have any gradients or like super tight typography or anything. It's fun, but it still works really, really well. And they, to this day, get so many positive reactions on it. And this also got rewarded on Behance, by the way. So yeah, it shows that it works. You don't have to be boring or you're just not basic as a company like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, great. I mean, I love the colors. It's very playful and still is like simple and, like it's also bold. I think, it does a great job. And this one is obviously a little bit more hip, like you said, right? The Terra one with
Yeah.
with a character. I think characters are always like a cool way to play with the brand, right? But no, great and lovely typeface, great colors.
Yeah.
Like you have so many mock-ups as well, right? That really help you see how the brand should be displayed. That's a really great work.
There's another project
Well,
that came from the Terra case study, which is another dimension. Same story as with Convo. They're a data analytics company, so quite serious, also quite sassy once again. But they wanted that like fun element of what Terra had in their industry. And it's possible when you find the right balance. So with another dimension, I actually did the same thing once again. It's very like simple in colors. It's one color with a secondary color, so quite duotone once again. But it does also have the mascot, and it does also have the bold, very bold typography. So I always try to push those boundaries a little bit. If they want a mascot as a you know a tech scale up as a SaaS company or as a data analyst, that's fine by me. It can work. It just needs to be done in the right way. And that's really what I try to do and push those boundaries. And it's fun, keeps it fun, for everyone.
yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, I'm a big fan of your work, so.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
No, I am. And, I did press the likes there on Behance. I'm not much on Behance, but I look at your work mainly on Instagram.
Okay.
However, Behance is actually quite good when you want to see like the projects. And I think you have a few more there. So anyways,
Yeah, it's funny. Like on my website, I have the full case studies. They're also on my Instagram, like you say, but on Behance, it gives me the most space to really like dive into the case study and really like show a little bit of the behind the scenes. You know what I mean? So I
mhm.
like Behance for that reason. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more project based instead of individual like square screens, right? Like Instagram. So
Exactly. Yeah.
cool. So some more like questions around like philosophy. Why would you say brand identity design is important?
That's a great question. I think, well, there's a few things, right? But I think to differentiate, especially in a time where there's tools like Canva, where everyone can be a designer, where there's AI, where everyone thinks they can be a designer, but as designers, and I hope and I think many non-creatives as well, I can see right through it. Like I can see when something is made in Chat GPT as an image. I can see when something is made in Canva. And what a brand identity does, I mean, it does many things, but one of the things it does is that it just shows that you take things serious. If you have a brand identity and you have a brand book with guidelines that you have to follow so you keep your branding consistent, that shows, it looks more
Yeah.
professional. You have a better opportunity to actually show your brand story and your strategy behind everything. And it just shows.
Great points. I think you're spot on there with AI content and or brands that don't have the effort or like Canva, right? Like using templates to create stuff and just changing the name. And I mean,
Yeah,
I
and
think
Canva is a great
where
tool.
you see talent, where you see like a lot of talent put into the brand, and obviously the more talent, the more expensive it will be, right? Because this is what you're paying for. It's like it will create having a strong brand is like basically the foundation for a company to have a lot of success or gain the respect of a big crowd, right? So
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
and nothing against a tool like Canva, if it's used in the right way, it can be very powerful, but then at least there
Hmm.
needs to be some thought behind it. So if I create templates, which I probably will do in Figma, but that doesn't matter what I do it in, they can then be imported into Canva, but they need to be used in the right way from the right templates. And that's where, a brand book comes in, and that's where guidelines come in. And if you don't have that, foundation, then it just instantly shows. I can instantly tell, like, hey, this company has not invested into their branding. They didn't have the budget, they didn't have the time, whatever it is, it shows.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Okay. What about young designers today? What kind of mistakes do you see them making?
This is a sensitive one. A lot of designers now, they just design pretty things. They just make stuff look cool, which is awesome. I like cool shit. I like pretty things, but it has to have a
Hmm.
foundation. It has to have a strategy. You know, if people in the company are not aligned, if everyone in the company says something different and thinks of the company differently, because you can think like, oh, my company represents this, my company shows this, but who says that the rest of the world that looks at that company interpret it the same way? There's no guarantee for that
Yep.
unless you have a good strategy in place and you have a good brand identity. So yeah, I think a lot of designers just design pretty shit and there's no thought behind it. There's no strategy behind it. And then when you do that, as a company, you're just going to have to reinvest in branding a few years later because it's not aligned anymore. Like it didn't grow with the company. It didn't scale the same way the business did. So then it's just outdated instantly again after a few years and you need to start the whole process again. So I think that's a big mistake a lot of designers nowadays make. Yeah, not building a good foundation, a strategic foundation.
Awesome. I think that's a really good insight and lesson for young designers listening in. I've seen on your website as well, you talk quite a bit about this, right? About like talking with the founders, making the research, building a foundation, really understanding everything from the core. And it is easy for, you know, novice designers to jump in and like, okay, let's create something pretty cool, get the concept quickly. But when you dig deep in, there's like all these other things that come out. And obviously it is hard with the founders, right? When you're working with someone to like you come up with an idea and then it's not what they expected, and then there's all this messy process that can happen in between to like finalize a project. So
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Like the process is tough. It's not easy, but everyone can go on Behance or Dribble or whatever an inspiration page and just get excited and just get started, and make something awesome. But that's maybe not what the client has in mind. So you need to align, you need to talk strategy, you need to, immerse yourself into what they do. Sit in their chair for the day. I always say, like, I work online, so I do a brand workshop before I start designing anything, before I even start with mood boards. And that's a 4-hour brand workshop. It
Hmm.
takes ages. There's a lot of good questions in there. There's a lot of discussion. I do it with the whole team, not just with the owner, but also with the sales team, with the marketing team, with everyone, because I need to
Hmm.
make sure that everyone is aligned and everyone thinks the same way. And if a discussion starts, that's awesome, because then we can talk about it and then we can see, like, oh, so you don't agree but you do agree, okay, let's find a middle way, and that way you get to good shit, not just pretty shit.
Wow, that's really interesting that you do this 4 hour session with the whole team. I
Yeah,
think
and if
that's a good good example of what you should do, right? Like it's a good
yeah
advice.
and like I said, I work online, but if I would work within the place where I lived, I would even go by. I would go by for the whole day,
Hmm.
do a strategy session for 4 hours in the meeting room, but then the rest of the day just stick around and see how people work,
Yeah.
see how they communicate with each other, see how they pick up the phone, see how they enter the building, how they leave the office, what the energy is like, how they talk to their clients, how the clients react to when you ask them, like, hey, what do you think of this business? And I would just immerse myself into that business for the day. Like I said, I work online, so I don't always have that chance. But when I do, I do it. It's very important.
I think that's what definitely sets you know, good brand designers or more experienced brand designers with people getting into the business, right? So good lessons there. Okay, so let's talk about one of our favorite subjects, which is brand guidelines. We talked about it a little bit before already, right? But why would you say they are important? I mean, I know you touched on it a little bit, but maybe like if you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
expound on
yeah.
it, like.
In one word, consistency.
Hmm.
If your brand is not consistent, then people don't have an attention span anymore. It was already terrible, it just got worse. Repetition and consistency is the only way you'll you'll build brand recognition. The only way that people at one point are going to be like, that's a post or that's a flyer or that's a thing, whatever it may be from that company, is if you're consistent, if you build that brand recognition. I can now post on LinkedIn, my personal LinkedIn, I post there a lot without using any of my branding. But just because I have a certain style and I work by certain, guidelines and I keep it consistent, people know it's a post of me without reading my name, without reading the company name. They know. Um, and that's why it's important.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. They do matter a lot. Well, that's one of the reasons why we're building a Bravemark, right? We see it as the core thing of for any brand, and I think there's still a lot of they still need to grow, right? Like some companies don't follow it always. Like it's also a little bit of a gray area in some places. Like do people, like when you hand it off to a company, some other designers will come and sometimes they will start to change things, right? It's like
Yeah.
how much can you change them and stuff like this. You will encounter stuff and new designers that get into the project have new ideas, and it's like tricky, right? I think it should be more respected, and then any changes, like, they have to be taken with like quite seriously, right? You can't just start making amendments here and there, but I've seen it happen a lot.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
about this a lot, and I came up with something that works for me, which is kind of like a subscription-based model with my clients, where I just like stay on as like consistency police, let's call it that. So I stay on with the client and I check in with them monthly, and everything they release, everything they do, I just scan, and it can literally be a half an hour call or an hour call every month. It could be less even, depending on their budget, where I just go through that stuff and be like, hey, that I would have done differently. That video you released, I would have done that this way, etc. And that way you can keep the brand consistent and you can stay in control a little bit. But it's tricky because not all clients will have the budget for it or care enough. And that's kind of where what you just said came in. That's a shame. But it happens and you can't really control that. So all you can do as a designer is just make sure that the guidelines that you set up are easy enough to understand, but also flexible enough for other creatives to work with it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing to hear this concept of the brand police. I think other companies do similar things, but it's not super common, right? I think it's
No,
really good.
not as a
I mean, with
freelancer.
Bravemark, no, not as a freelancer. Yeah. It's more like an, ongoing business partnership, really. But, it's also with tools that you can create, like what we want to do with Bravemark. We have many plans. It's like, if you can give better tools, you can also help consistency stay more, consistent, right? And
Yeah.
so hopefully we will grow in that direction as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I'm excited to see.
What about, what about, are there any moments, yeah, where guidelines should be broken?
I mean, I'm all for breaking the rules when possible, you know? I think everyone should take their creative freedom, but also just handle things with respect, you know? Like things have been designed and created in a way for a reason, and especially when it's a good strategic brand, there's a lot of thought behind things, you know? So respect the guideline, respect the boundaries, but take your creative freedom where possible, I guess. Yeah, it's a balance.
Okay, I like that. I like that. They can be broken, but with respect. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into a few questions on Bravemark. I know you've been a user now for quite a bit.
Mhm.
What's been your experience with Bravemark and online brand guidelines?
Yeah, I've really been loving it. I think we had a chat about this earlier, but it's actually funny. I had a client once, which was another studio that came to me that they needed help on a project. So I became the brand designer on the project, and they kind of became the art directors. It was two owners, and they actually first introduced me to Bravemark years ago. That project is still online. It's the next floor. And when I saw it back then, I thought like, oh, that's interesting, but I never really did much with the information. I was just like, yeah, maybe I'll use it at one point, until you reached out and was like, hey, have you ever tried Bravemark? And I was like, yeah, actually I did. Um, and then I got back into it. I looked at it again and actually found out how much easier it is than, you know, creating a whole brand book every time from scratch. It's both easier for me as the designer than for the client because the interface is just easier. All assets are in one place. It's more consistent, you know?
Yeah. That's how I see it as well, right? We focus a lot on making it practical and easy. Obviously, like brand books, they're huge and they can have much more information. But I mean, it's also we're planning on building more capabilities as well. But the core with us, it's always we want to keep it like practical. You have the assets there, you download and make it easy for everyone to build and to consume, right?
Exactly.
What about yeah? So what do you think about traditional brand books, PDFs? Is that you think they're still valuable? Do you think they will be obsolete in the future? How do you see that?
Yeah, they're outdated. Like, don't get me wrong. I fucking love a good traditional brand book. You know, either it be a printed one, a PDF one. I love it because let's be honest, there's a lot of freedom in just creating something from scratch. It's great, but they're super outdated because when they need to be updated, it's a nightmare. You know, you need to take a lot of time. There's a lot of back and forth. There's exporting a new document again. There's storing it somewhere or sending it again. It gets lost. Clients come back to you like, "Hey, can you send me that again?" It is fucking annoying, you know. So that's where Bravemark comes in, and I would say Bravemark is the perfect like middle ground with an actual online brand book, you know, as a developed website would be like the pro version. Like the big brands will need their own platform, you know, internally. But when it comes to that perfect middle ground, a platform like Bravemark does all that, which is amazing.
So do you think they will be at some point in the future they'll become obsolete?
Yeah, I don't think people are going to stop making them, but I think they're going to be so outdated that it would be stupid to still make one, right? It just be a pain in the ass for all parties involved. So yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, like you said, I like them in the way that it's like it's a piece of art, it's a piece of
Yeah,
design. You have it
yeah.
there. It's like a collectible nearly. Like you can be very proud of a beautiful brand
Ex-
book.
I would almost compare it to like a sick coffee table book. You know, I still pay 100, 200 euros for an awesome coffee table book sometimes as a designer. I love them, but are they still necessary? Of course not.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit like, having pretty books. I mean, they're nice to see and look, but you're normally online, right? Doing stuff there quick, copying text, doing stuff, using AI
Exactly,
with it. I mean, all these things.
exactly.
All right.
It's
Okay.
just
Well, let's I have a few more little like rapid fire questions to before we wrap it up.
vamos.
Um Vamos. What would you say is your favorite font right now?
Oh, I've read this. I find it hard. I work with so many like bold and like custom fonts that I find literally every fucking where. Like I find them everywhere, you know, that I honestly don't
Okay.
know the names of any of them. But if I would have to just give a staple font that I really love, it would either be Manrope, which is a Google font, or Helvetica. But those are like fonts
Okay.
that are good for
Classic
readability to
Helvetica.
pair with like a bold font, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Great choices. I love Manrop as well. I'm tending to use it with a lot of things lately as well.
Yeah, great font.
Great. What about the underrated design tool or something new that you've seen that is interesting?
Yeah, I thought about that one, and I don't know. I'm a big
Okay.
fan of Figma, but I don't think that's very underrated. I think everyone uses that.
Do you do your brand identity work all in Figma? You're not an illustrator designer?
Yeah, so it's a combination of everything. Adobe that I still use. That's what I've been taught in like art school, but also graphic design school before that. So I work in Illustrator, I work in Photoshop, I work in InDesign when I have to. I don't like InDesign whatsoever. But everything I can do in Figma
Mm-hmm.
only, I'll do in Figma only. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Awesome. What about the most inspiring brand lately?
It's a good one as well. I've been really into football brands, like I mentioned earlier. So I think this year there was the FC Copenhagen rebrand, and then recently there was a German club that rebranded, which was I think Stuttgart. I'm not entirely sure,
Okay.
but I love the football rebrands lately because they dive so deep into culture and how people perceive the club. It's very sensitive. You know, people have tattoos
Mm-hmm.
of the actual clubs and stuff. There's a lot of passion and emotion involved. So you have to be
Okay.
so careful with those kind of rebrands that it's super impressive to me when those rebrands get done successfully. You know, I'm a football supporter myself, and I would hate to see the logo, the crest of my club be changed, you know? So finding that balance and like inspiration from like city signs in the city for the typography and stuff, I fucking love it, you know? So those rebrands, yeah.
Okay, interesting. I mean, that's pretty cool you say that because sometimes and lately there's been some rebrands of well-known brands, right? And like the barrel one and everybody hated it and some people are very passionate, like you say they tattoo them. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to see what happens with football brands when they rebrand, right? Like people could go
Yeah.
wild.
And those are like religion to people, you know, there's a lot more emotion there than with a simple barrel restaurant. And I call it simple because I'm European. I don't know what's going on there much, but you know, that one got stripped down completely from like the authentic identity it had. And imagine that happens to your football club, the love of your life, your religion, you know, that's heavy. So there's so much to be
Yeah.
considered when you do those football rebrands. So I think they're super impressive, done well.
I'm going to look into that a little bit more. One piece of advice for new brand designers.
Ooh. Well, work from strategy first. That's one we covered. Don't just make
Strategy.
pretty shit. Work from strategy first. And the second one is share your work everywhere. Don't just put it on Instagram and Behance and whatever else you want once. No, share it constantly. Repeat it. Reshare it. Who the fuck cares that people see it 5 to 10 times? No one is going to care. People are way too worried about, I posted this last month, I can't post it again. Yes, you can. Just post it. Keep posting it. Exposure.
Okay, cool. Great. I think that's a solid tip there. Okay, what about, so for anyone that wants to keep up with your work, where is the best place they can find you?
So, well, you check it out on Instagram. So on Instagram, it's YVDH branding, but I'm actually most active on my LinkedIn, which is my personal LinkedIn, Youri van den Hurk. And that's where I post daily. I post tips. I post branding work of my own. I go into like topics, branding topics, strategy topics. I talk about things I went through with client, all that stuff, all the good stuff.
Yeah. I know that you're active on LinkedIn, and I would say that's definitely the place, like, to, if they want to learn from your lessons and experience, they should definitely follow you there.
Yeah.
I will be adding all your links in the description of the video, so people can find you easily.
Go
Okay,
follow
Youri,
right
that's
now.
it. We're closing.
All right. Thank you,
Yeah,
Johan. No, this was fun.
yeah, click on the links.
Yeah, click on the links
Yeah, it was
now.
fun.
Go
It was
do
fun.
it.
It's the idea. Just, have a little chat, little by little. I'll bring in more designers, and we'll get better into doing this format. Maybe ask some more questions. But yeah, this is it. It was great
Yeah.
talking to you, and we'll catch up soon. Let's meet up again, and just maybe us two as well, and just chat a bit.
Yeah, great talking to you, Johan. And next time we'll go for a beer, huh? And we're not too far away from each other, so.
Oh yeah, that's it. When you're around Portugal, tell me, right? I told you I'm not too far away, so maybe
That's
that
what
we
I
could
mean, man. So
make that happen.
next time I'm around, we'll see where we can meet up, go for a beer.
Okay, excellent. Okay,
All right,
thanks, man.
Johan. Thanks, man. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. Bye bye.